is Felicia Zwebner and the Art of Staging.
Thank you, Jessica, for that nice introduction. Hi, everybody. Now, who's here to learn how to make some more money? We're talking about assessing where to stage. And there's two parts to that. There's the economy and there's market trends. Okay, so for the economy, we all know that it tanked in 2008. I'm sure all of us, being designers or realtors, have felt that impact. The good news is the market is up, so I'm sure we're all a little bit busier, but the market is still soft in terms of real estate, and so there are people out there, developers and realtors, looking for designers to stage. The other thing is market trends. That goes on whether the economy is bad or not. Basically, there are developers out there that look for dilapidated properties, foreclosures, rehabilitated areas such as Harlem, Williamsburg. Chelsea has had a resurrection. In Florida, for instance, spoke down there about a year ago. Their whole area, that South of South Beach is called SOFI, stands for South of Fifth. That's a whole new hot area. So again, part of it is assessing where the actual trends are in the market. Next slide. Okay, so what is the process to get a staging gig? All right, the first part is researching the developer. That's really kind of important. And how do you do that? How do you research a developer? Well, you take the time to read the real estate section, and I don't just mean one real estate section. I mean the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Real Deal. Get an idea of who the developers out there that are active and building. The next part would be identifying and interviewing the realtors as to the target market. So now that you know who the players are, okay, especially here in New York, there's a lot of them, you need to see who gets those listings. Is it Corcoran? Is it Sotheby's? Is it Brown Harris Stevens? Who is it? And then try to establish relationships with those realtors. And then the third part is preparing the proposal. Well, once you actually have an established relationship with a realtor and they've seen your work and they like who you are and they want to start the process, you need to prepare a proposal based on the property. Meredith, next slide. Okay, so about realtors. Interview the realtors as to the target market, and I cannot stress that enough. Obviously, a client down in Tribeca is going to be a completely different type of client who's buying a property up in the Upper East Side. Dealing with time constraints. Another thing that us designers, we get but we don't get. Okay, so we have goals and we know that clients sometimes will table projects in the middle or things get back ordered. But when it comes to, let's say, spring market, and a realtor needs to get it listed and get it going and showing that property, you don't have time to pick your favorite fabric that's back ordered for 8 weeks. Consideration of the realtor's needs to show the residents during the staging process. That's another thing that's really important. As designers, and I can say this because I'm one, sometimes we get to be perfectionists, and we don't want anyone coming in and seeing our work in process. We just want them to see the overall effect. But that's not reality. So if a realtor has a VIP flying in from overseas or even from the other side of this country, they need to show that property or at least preview the property. And they're okay with the fact that you might have a painter or an electrician working there. You just need to understand and accommodate them. Okay. This is something I'm sure you've all heard in real estate. Location, location, location. This is an apartment. This is actually a foyer in an apartment. And it's a modern building. And the target market in this building would be young families or bachelors and bachelorettes. So what we did is, there's two parts to what I'm getting at here. One is space is a premium. We all know that because we're all in the New York area. All right, so what normally maybe we would design as a foyer in someone's home out in the country with just a little rug and maybe a console table and a mirror, here we're trying to maximize space. So In this back section here, we have a home office, okay? And then in this area here, we have a small love seat and 2 ottomans which can serve as additional seating or for food and beverage. And then we have a media console here with a flat screen TV, and of course the media console can hold lots of storage as well. So there's a lot packed into that space, and both the developers and the realtors love it because it makes the space more marketable. More marketable means increase in sales price. Let's see the same building, different style. Okay, now, this is the same building, this is a bedroom, and it's beautiful and well appointed. The problem here is not even necessarily that space is a premium. The problem here is that it's not identifying the target market. As beautiful as it is, a young family or a bachelor and bachelorette in a modern building are not going to want a traditional style. Okay, next slide. Various degrees in staging. Okay, 1, it depends on the scope of the project. And what I mean by that is when you meet with the owner or the developer, they're going to discuss with you the budget. And we're going to get into that in a few minutes. In this example here, you have photos A and B. It's the same idea, but totally different budgets. In A, it's hard to tell, but there's wall covering in here. The budget was a lot higher. We were able to hire electrical contractors. We did overhead lighting. We did angled washers for art. We did faux finishes in the living room. In B, the walls are painted white. We use the same window treatment, maybe even the same accent chair. But we plugged in our lamps. Now this is really important for designers. I don't know how many of you work with Excel or any other kind of software that does spreadsheets, but this is a spreadsheet. It's how to budget the staging project. Internal worksheets for use by design professional. And even though this might take some office time, it's really important so that at the end you are making money. All right, so the first column here we would have, if you can see in red, it says gallery, living room. These are just some examples of different spaces and the description of the item. Okay, so that would be column 1. Column 2 is the fabricator. So it has different companies listed here. And then it would have the actual units. What would be the amount per item, whatever our net cost is, the amount per unit, the subtotal, and then the total. Now, the tax and the freight, and then the total. So tax and freight is another problem for designers. A lot of times designers don't take that into account. So even if you have to estimate it, overestimate it, this way at least you're okay. And then after that, you would have what you actually, your budget total versus what you actually spent. Because you have to keep working those spreadsheets. As the invoices come in from your various vendors, plug in those numbers. And then you can go to the next slide. Okay, so let's talk about budgeting and planning a little bit more in detail here. 1 is the listing price. Obviously, you are not going to design a building that is an apartment or a residence for, let's say, a $500,000 listing price, as you would for a $5 million listing price. You want to obviously go higher end on a higher end price. 2, your budget. Even if it is the same building and it's maybe a couple $100,000 difference or $1 million difference, if your budget is different because the owner or developer gave you a different budget, then clearly you have to take that into account. The third part is your time frame for design. That's really important because, like I said, the realtors really want you to make it amazing, but they really kind of want you to wave your magic wand. They want you to get in there, do a fantastic job in the shortest amount possible, because while you're busy designing that space, even if they can't bring through their VIPs, it still is very difficult for them. So you kind of need to get in and get out. So that's why I said, don't start getting hung up on the perfect color, fabric, or the perfect piece of furniture. And then the fourth thing is strategic splurging. That's something that I personally like to do. In this is a man cave. This was actually in the Stanhope, and that room has absolutely no view. It faces an inside of a building. So, and it's a long, narrow room. So it's a really odd shaped room. But after I interviewed the realtor as to who the ideal client is, we expected it to be a foreigner. It would not necessarily be their primary home. It was probably their secondary home. In that instance, we decided that he probably likes to smoke, which means that he'd probably want an area where he can have a window, but he's not seeing the whole public, which he isn't here. So this became his kind of man cave. And this is a game table with 4 chairs. We put in some really nice high-end photography. We have in-wall speakers, flat screen TV, a liquor cabinet, and that's where I splurged, because I knew if that impressed him, he's gonna buy the place, and he did. Now, budgeting and planning. This is a sample proposal. Obviously, the numbers are gonna totally vary based on what your project is. This is for presentation to the owner or developer, or the realtor, if the realtor needs to see it first. So again, you're breaking it down based on that spreadsheet that you did. You now have a clue how much it's really going to cost you to do labor and material for window treatments versus painted paper. And then you can also discuss with the realtor, the owner, the developer, what their vision is. And then they might say to you know what, I don't want to spend $10K on the window treatments. Why don't we put more into the paint and paper? I'd love you to faux finish the living room. So you can kind of work with them. As far as here, you're going to see something strange. Rental fee furniture. I have a furniture line. It's called FZ Collection. So for me, not all, but a lot of what I do is my own furniture, and so I will rent it for that period. And of course, I have to discuss with them how long a period that is. Is it 3 months, 6 months, etc. If you can't rent furniture, then buy furniture. Design fee. That's very important too. Remember yourselves, otherwise why are you doing this? Art accessories, mattress, bedding, linens, rugs, and the total fee. Okay, success tips. One, working with the realtor. You need to accommodate them. If the realtor is doing a photo shoot, they might be looking to maximize the views of the apartment and not really care about how you have that layout of furniture. So if they move your furniture around or change something up or open a window treatment that you wanted closed, just let it be, because it's not about you and the design, it's about selling the place. If you do want to take pictures of the apartment just for your own portfolio, that's fine. Bring in your own photographer. You can also hire a florist and put in your own fresh flowers, photograph it, put it the way you want, and then just leave it up to the realtor for the rest. Purchasing furnishings versus renting furnishings. That's an important line item when you're budgeting. If you need to purchase versus rent, then you have to factor in a larger sum of what that, part of that budget is going to cost you. A lot of designers do this, and I've seen it time and time again. They'll go to IKEA, Crate and Barrel, Pottery Barn. It really, if you're designing $1 million and up, it's not going to help sell the place. Anyone who's coming in to buy is looking for high end, and it's not even just that. It will help facilitate the sale faster if you choose maybe less furnishings but quality furnishings. And then the option to sell the home furnished. That's something you can work out with the realtor as well as the developer if it's a development, where you want to sell it. They call it turnkey, where literally somebody comes in, buys it, and they get the key and the whole place is done. That's obviously the best way for all of us to make money. I don't know if that's always going to happen, but that's what we call turnkey.